So now let's move on to the Detroit Pistons now. They fired Monty Williams this morning. And you know what? Good. And I don't think I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm the one guy who thinks it's a good thing that we let go of Monty Williams, but like that was impressive to be able to do that and to be able to eat the amount of money that you owed him. Because you signed him for like, I don't know the whole figures, but it was like 5 years, $70 million, the most a coach has ever been paid. And in 1 year, you got to fire him and still pay all that money. But with Trajan Langdon, the new president of basketball operations, is being a president of basketball operations. He is doing things. And you know what? Whether it works out or not, they're trying. Now I can see that they're trying. You let Troy Weaver go. You let Monty Williams go. We'll see what he ends up doing with the roster. We'll see what he ends up doing in the draft. But darn it, right away, he's trying. Because there was no way that was going to work. Monty Williams, whether it was personal reasons, that's fine. And, you know, I'm not saying he's a horrible human because he had things in his personal life going on. But sports are about results, okay? You have a 28-game losing streak. You have the worst season in your franchise's long history. Yeah, you're going to get fired. Sorry, it's nothing personal. It's just business. You cannot recover from a 14-win season with the way the 14-win season went, where right out of the gate, there was no energy, there was no effort, there was no trying, there was no improvement, there was no clue as to what you were doing, is what it felt like for the Pistons. You cannot bring that back because it's such a like an absolute failure that you have to just throw it away. You have to burn the tape, forget about it. Because it will only, like having that loom over you can only bring disaster again. It's not something where, like, the Timberwolves losing in the Western Conference Finals or losing the playoffs and they'll be back. That's not a motivating loss to have 14 wins in a season. That is a demoralizing loss and disaster of a season. So, yes, you needed the absolute sweeping change of firing Troy Weaver and Monty Williams. So I'm happy. I'm a little bit happier now with the Pistons because I've said it and I mention it often because no reason to talk about the Pistons on an Oakland sports show when they stink. But now that we see this, I'm buying back in. Just for a little bit. I know the roster needs its moves. You got to make your decision. Because, listen, I agree with the sentiment, which is what I'm hearing around for Detroit sports, that when you're that bad, there are no sacred cows. There are no, like, there's nobody you have to keep. I know that Cade Cunningham is most likely going to end up being paid, but, like, everybody is on the table. You know why? Because none of it has worked. You have nothing to build with. You're trying to build an engine with toothpicks. You got to get rid of the toothpicks, and you need nuts and bolts and cylinders and crankshafts. You need actual pieces. You need actual, dare I say, pistons for this engine to run. Like you can't make it out of paper and toothpicks, dude. That's the roster. And yeah, you might make it look nice. You might have a few good statistical games. But you put your finger on that engine and it crumbles up because it's not a real engine. It's not a real basketball team. It is made of paper and toothpicks. You need steel. You need to get pieces, and you need to put that thing together. So there is no player that I believe is safe. I love Cade, but let me ask this. If you're Cade Cunningham as a player, and all that you know in the NBA is losing, are you going to be able to recover from that with the Pistons, with the team that you have been losing with? You don't know what winning is like. And it's different than in football. Like Dan Campbell, Dan Campbell started off like 0-11. And they even had a tie before they got their first win. And at least in those games, and football's completely different because like upsets, I would say more possible in football just because of how like wild and how limited the opportunities are for each team. But that aside, they got their first win and got the taste of winning. But for the NBA, it's not just getting that one win and starting to spark. There's 82 games in a season. Like, losses just happen like as a result of the law of averages. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like the one win will spark the rest of it. You need a winning season. You need stakes. You need playoffs. You need an actual experience of a full, long sample of winning to feel like you know what it's like to win. Otherwise, like, listen, Cade is great. Injuries aside, but you don't know when winning. Like, I don't know how you can keep him believing that he's going to be the cornerstone of the team. It's not. I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, maybe it is a little bit because he was playing, but like, is it totally Cade's fault? No. There wasn't a real basketball team around him. You lost 28 games in a row. Like, come on. You need, like, okay, you pay him fine. I'm fine with keeping him, but, like, everybody else has got to go to be able to go. You know, I love Duren. I love his 20 points, 20 rebound games, but, like, you know, how far is he going to make? How far is he going to get you? Jaden Ivey. You know, I guess it'll depend on what the new coach wants to do with them, but Monty had wanted nothing to do with them for some reason. So maybe you could get assets for that. It's just at this point, like, you got to rebuild the rebuild for the Detroit Pistons, you know? So nothing is off the table, especially the GM and the head coach. And Trajan Langdon is showing the ability to do that. I love that. If it's not working, it must be replaced. That's from an engineer's mindset. I'm in my engineering degree, and you know what? If the wrench doesn't work, you need a new wrench. You can't just pretend that it's screwing the bolt in because it is not. You need new tools. And if you can't make it work with a correct wrench, you need a new worker. You need a new person using that wrench. And that's what we're starting to see. That's what I'm liking to see. And I just like that they're trying. I just like that they're trying. Because before they were not. Before they were, there is no way you could say that they were truly trying. At least last year, and even some of the years before. Like, it hasn't been good in 15 years. You're telling me that you tried your hardest for 15 years and you can't get anything going? I don't agree with that. I believe it comes from ownership as well, but you know, we'll bash ownership another day. This is a positive note for the Tom Gore's ownership of the team. Although I do still wish the Palace existed, but anyway. So that'll wrap up my thoughts. I didn't have any notes for this, by the way. I don't know if you guys could tell, but that was my notes on the NBA. Boston winning the finals. Monty Williams being fired from the Pistons and looking a little bit up in Detroit basketball. Pretty soon we'll be having Kyle Reese of Oakland University Recreational Wellbeing. He's the manager of all the club sports that go on at Oakland University. We'll be talking to him on Friday, so heads up for that. Get ready for Kyle Reese. We had him on an interview last year as well, kind of geared up our coverage of club sports and the rest of the interviews in that way. So get ready for that on Friday. And we'll be back next week on the GioMoShow with more Oakland sports. We'll have swimming, diving, track and field as our season review. Week 6 of the USPBL and whatever else happens throughout the week. So that'll do it for the GioMoShow, everybody. My name is Giovanni Moshieri. You've been listening to 88.3 FM WXOU. We'll see you next week, hopefully on time, Tuesday at noon on WXOU.